Coming up on this episode of the Hockey Nuts, Steve and I discuss the historic events during All-Star Weekend in Los Angeles. We also discuss the headlines of the week in a very light week of action around the hockey world. We'll have all the details, plus some college hockey talk, the KHL Minute, and our picks of the week coming up next. This is the Hockey Nuts Podcast, Season 1, Episode 25, recorded on Wednesday, February 1, 2017. All-Star Weekend Revisited.
Shut up and sit down.
And we're a ways away from figuring out who the winning team is. 5:03 to go in this period, and it's a 3-3 tie. Here's Taylor Hall trying to get away. What a goal. Wayne Simmons. And the Metro's got the lead now.
Amazing what a little effort does, isn't it? Yes.
Retrieval by Jordan Stahl. Teuvo Teravainen. Saucer pass finding Aho. Inside off a stick for Elias Lindholm, who turns with it. Interrupted, brought along but not out by Provorov. Teravainen off McDonald. Look out. It gets to the outside, and it's held in by Folk. Teuvo Teravainen, Jordan Stahl wide. Off a stick. Teravainen. Elias Lindholm. Aho calling. His shot. Scores! That's hockey, baby! That's a hat trick for Sebastian Aho!
Miller. Strawman gets him on edge and tips him over. Boyle jabbing in the corner against Bolesky. Bolesky comes out with a puck. Colin Miller fakes the shot. Chara's drive. Scores! Zdeno Chara's fourth of the year! And the Bruins are up 3-2 in the third.
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Hockey Nuts Podcast. My name is Wayne. I'm here with Steve. How's it going today, Steve?
Good evening to you, Wayne. Good to be with you for episode 25.
25. We're getting up there.
We're getting up there now.
We're becoming old veterans at this game. So we're recording. Today is Wednesday, the 1st of February. So we last recorded on Friday. So we really only had 5 days of time between the last recording and this recording. And, of course, 4 of those days were taken up by the All-Star break. So we've only had one night of games since we last recorded. So I've got a feeling this episode will probably be a little bit on the short side, and that's okay. We'll be talking a lot about the All-Star game for sure. But coming back out of the All-Star break, I'm noticing some teams are getting a little antsy as they get ready to make their playoff runs. We've got some transactions to talk about this week, or stuff mostly that has happened in the last 24 hours, really. There's been quite a bit going on, so teams are getting ready to make their drive for the playoffs. And as we talked about at the last podcast, there's still 28 out of 30 teams that have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. So should be a fun 2 months here to end the season.
It will be. I'm wondering if we get to the 1st of March, how many teams will be left, you know? How many teams will drop by the wayside?
Yeah, February is going to be huge for a lot of teams, for sure.
It will be. It really will be.
So, all right. Well, let's get started talking about everything that's gone on over the past week. And, of course, over the weekend, we had the NHL All-Star break or All-Star game. I don't know if you want to call it a game anymore. They still calling it an All-Star game, or are they start calling it an All-Star tournament now?
Yeah, that's true. It really is a tournament.
Yeah.
The way they have it set up. And I don't know about you, but I thought this one was better than the last one. And the last one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this tournament.
Last year was the first year with that 3-on-3 tournament style that they did, and this year is year 2. So the players had a little bit more, they knew a little bit more what to expect going into it. And, of course, they put that $1 million prize out there to the winning team. So that created a little bit, put a little skin on the line, so to speak.
That's right. That's right.
So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I really wish I could have gone. If I'd have known how epic it would have been, man, that would have been. It would have been nice to go out there. L.A. really did the All-Star weekend L.A. style, didn't they?
They did. I mean, it had its fingerprints and stamp all over it. It was very L.A. Oriented, which I thought it was an excellent game. I was very pleased with how it came off, and a lot of fanfare. I thought the skills competition was very, very good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, over the weekend too, we had a lot of stuff going on around the All-Star break. Of course, the NHL unveiled the rest of the top 100 players of all time, and they actually had them all go to L.A. for a big ceremony on Friday night. And I saw bits and pieces of it. I wasn't able to see the whole thing because I was working pretty late Friday night. But what I did see of it was unbelievable to see that many hockey legends all in one place, all at the same time, combined with all of today's stars. And then there were tons of celebrities hanging around there all weekend.
Yes,
It was an amazing.
And I was surprised the number of celebrities that actually stood up and said, hey, this is my team, or, there's quite a bit of celebrity support that I recall seeing over the weekend.
Yeah.
I was very, Tim Robbins announced the Metropolitan Division All-Stars, but he started it off and made sure to say, I'm Tim Robbins, and I'm a lifelong New York Rangers fan. I had no idea. Tim Robbins was a New York Rangers fan.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat how he did that.
Yep.
And, of course, it's, Tinseltown for a reason. And
yep. Of course, yeah. And most of the celebrities generally are fans of the teams from where they grew up. Like you have I don't know if they were there, but Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and basically the entire Wahlberg family. They're all Bruins fans, of course, because they're all from Boston. And then you got I'm sure there are plenty of celebrities that are New York Rangers fans. Yes, a lot of those folks are from New York.
There's a lot of them that are Kings fans. The Bruins have a they have a good following. I don't know. In this country, the Bruins might be the most popular of the original six. I would think that. I would think it. I don't think it's Chicago. I think it's the Bruins.
Yeah. No, I think Chicago over the years was plagued by having a team that just wasn't very good for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped suppress their fan base a little bit. And that and their previous owner. Well, I say previous owner. It's still the same family that owns the team, but the Wirtz family, the father, his name escapes me at the moment, who died right before the Blackhawks got really good.
Mm-hmm.
He had a long-standing belief that he didn't want to put the Blackhawks games on TV because he felt it would hurt the gate. It would hurt their sales at the gate.
Right.
But what ultimately ended up happening is the opposite was true. By having the team play on TV, and of course all the teams had realized this before he did, but by having a team play on TV, it gets them out there and it gets people talking about them and makes them more likely to go to games in the future.
Yep. So that's so true.
But the Blackhawks
and Wayne, I mean, what do you think about this? They have that it's no longer super stations in the world we're living in now, but TBS was a superstation at one time, and WGN in Chicago was certainly a superstation.
Yep.
They could have televised Blackhawks games, and it would have made a big difference in their support through the 80s and the 90s.
Yep, and they would televise road games, but they wouldn't televise home games in Chicago.
Yeah.
So that was, and then of course you had the Michael Jordan era that basically made everybody fans of the Bulls, and nobody talked about the Blackhawks for a long, long time. So.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you don't see too many celebrities per se that are fans of the Blackhawks, but there sure are a lot of bandwagoners now that they're good. I've never seen that fan base grow so fast as they have since Taves and Kane got there.
Oh, man.
It's irritating to see, but, every city's going to have bandwagoners. Even Boston in 2011 when they won the Cup had a lot more fans than they do now. But That's the way it goes, I guess. Everybody's going to jump on a bandwagon at some point.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, speaking of teams, let's quickly run down our three teams. Each of them only had one game over the past week. The Bruins had a 4-3 win at Tampa Bay yesterday. Good win by Boston. Good all-around game. I actually missed the game. I had to work until 10 last night, so I wasn't able to see it, but I saw the score sheet, saw the stats and everything, and everybody who was talking about it that I follow said that it was just a good effort overall for Boston. So they came out with a 4-3 win against a division foe, Tampa Bay. So that's always a good thing. And then Carolina, look what they did last night against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Blew them out 5-1. Sebastian Aho, the rookie, got a hat trick last night. So
that's a big win.
Yep, that's a huge win for them. And that's a division rival for them. So
yep. Sure is.
But the Rangers didn't have so much good luck last night.
We played, might as well say we played piss poor. We played terrible. We were down 6-0 in that game.
Oh wow.
And came 6-4.
Oh wow.
But it was a terrible. I don't know. I was real impressed and pleased with the way the team started out. They were playing very well, and the very first shot Columbus took, Seth Jones took it, and there were like 2 or 3 guys in front of Henrik and screened him, and he didn't see it, went right in the net. So, and that was from near the blue line. So I was like, well, maybe they'll come back and tie this. And a few minutes later, another goal, 2-0, and I was like, this could be one of those nights. So
from there, it fell apart, huh?
From there, it fell apart, and there was really once it got up to 4 or 5-0, I was like, there doesn't matter. The chances of coming back, it'll be one of the greatest comebacks ever in NHL history. So, won't happen.
Yep.
So not a good game. Hopefully we come back and play better tomorrow night against the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, let's talk about, a little bit about the actual results of the All-Star Weekend. Now that our 3 teams are out of the way. We had a skills competition on Saturday night, and
wasn't that great?
They made a few changes to it this year. There was one thing I was a little bit disappointed on with the skills competition, is that they took out that breakaway competition where, the guys just get creative and do, the types of plays that they want to do. Like last year, Subban did the whole hair and the Yager impersonation. They took basically what they did is they took out the events that would be determined by judges per se, and replaced it with events that are lost by statistics. And I get why they had to do that, because they were using the skills competition results to determine who was going to play who in the tournament. So whoever the division that won the skills competition got to choose, number one, when they play in the tournament and who they play.
Right.
So they had to change all the events to make it more statistical and less, using judges. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but at the same time, by doing that, you took away the entertainment value that a lot of fans got out of guys just having fun with the breakaway competition and trying to do creative moves.
Right. I agree. That was missing in this tournament, and I think that part of it was fun to watch and very entertaining last year. But nonetheless, the skills competition this year was very good. I just hate, I think in the fastest skater, I don't think they're having sometimes if some players aren't selected for the All-Star game, you're not going to have the fastest guys on the ice to try and compete for that award. Although Connor McDavid certainly may have won it against anybody.
Yeah. Well, here's an idea I came up with that I think I either tweeted it out or I put it in a Facebook post somewhere. I said, here's what I would have liked to seen for the individual, not these relays that they had, but the individual events that they had, like fastest skater, hardest shot. What were a couple of the other individual ones? The accuracy shooting, anything that could be judged as an individual. The stick handling. Well, the stick handling could be a little bit different, but yeah, anything that wasn't a relay. What I would have liked to seen is to see every player in the NHL be eligible to make it to the All-Star skills competition, maybe not play in the game, but to get to the skills competition by, make it a huge tournament of all NHL players. So let's take, for example, hardest shot, right? So every team has a hardest shot competition among their team, and they can, it's up to the team if they want to make that as part of a closed practice, or open that up to the fans for the entertainment value of that. Have a team-specific skills competition night. And then the winner of each category from each team advances on to compete against the team winners out of each category for the entire division.
Mm-hmm.
And then the division winners move on to the final. And so you have one winner from the entire league for each category. Add that one player to the group that's already there for the All-Star game, and let that extra player who won essentially the entire league tournament compete against the All-Stars in those categories.
That's a very good. I like that. I think that's a great idea.
In the case of the hardest shot, you probably would have seen Zdeno Chara there.
Yep.
Competing in the hardest shot.
And he should be.
But he's not playing All-Star level the last several years. In fact, he was hurt one of the years that the All-Star break was. I think it was last year he was hurt. But in the last 3 years, they're saying, oh, yeah, Weber won it 3 years in a row. But, Chara hasn't been there the last 3 years, and he probably won't be there again. He's just not playing at that level anymore.
Right.
But his shot is still just as hard as ever.
Oh.
So
you're going to think this is crazy. Mika Zibanejad has a wicked shot. We found out this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you just don't know. There's some of these average players out there that can be exceptional at this one skill, and then win their team, win their division, win the league, and advance to be able to compete in this skills competition. Yeah, they're not an all-star officially, but they get to be an extra player on there.
Wayne, I think that's a great idea. I like that very much.
So
specialists in the shootout.
So let's see let's send a memo out to the league. Say, hey, let's open up these skills competitions to the entire league, not just the All-Stars.
It will make it more entertaining, and you truly would have the best if the All-Star player won.
Right.
As I said, you got specialists in the shootout.
Yep.
You have specialist goalies in the shootout.
Yep.
You have, I'm going to say right now, the fastest skater competition, they were missing a lot of people.
Yeah. Larkin didn't get a chance to defend his title from last year.
Yep.
So, and of course there was that people put out a video, an edited video that compared Larkin, because Larkin got a head start from the blue line. He essentially got a 30-foot head start before he reached the line, the center line, before the clock started. So he was already in full stride by the time the clock started. And McDavid started at the red line, and McDavid came up, just short of beating Larkin.
Yep.
So had Larkin either started at the red line like McDavid did, or if McDavid would have started back at the blue line like Larkin did, McDavid would have blown him away, according to the video evidence that people are putting out there.
Yeah.
So, but Larkin officially still is the fastest skater record holder at this point.
Yep.
So until somebody beats him anyway. But it would have been nice to see. Well, I think Larkin's been hurt though, or something.
Oh God,
I can't remember if he's hurt or not, but he'll definitely be back. He may not be hurt right now, but I think he was hurt for quite a period there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he missed out on making the All-Star team as a result. So, but when they removed the creative, whatever you want to call it, the creative shootout, of course, they put in a couple of new skills. That 4-line challenge was a new event this year.
Yeah.
Where they shot from the blue line, red line, then far blue line, then goal line. What do you think of
Mike Smith's
Mike Smith's goal?
I thought that was the highlight of the skills competition, but
that was pretty amazing.
My wife and I both stood up and went in awe of that.
When I saw him shoot it down and it goes in that tiny little hole, I'm like, Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Now you think about it. If you shot 100 pucks, how many of those would make it?
Probably one or two.
Yeah,
and I think he even said that too. He says he wouldn't have been able to repeat that.
Yeah,
it just happened to go in for him right at the right time. So
if he gave him 20 more shots, I bet he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. So
that was really something. It really was tremendous, and he did it at the right time on national TV. So.
And then what'd you think of Kessler's kid going in on Carey Price?
I really like that, and I almost picked that as my wife said you should put that down as the pick of the week when he brought his kid in on that. I thought that was pretty classy.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And, you know, there was a lot of people out there on Twitter in particular saying, you know, that kid really beat Carey Price. And no, he didn't. Carey Price let that in. But, you know, he made it look good. And he made it look like the kid actually beat him. But Carey Price picked up his stick. His stick was up off the ice, which a goalie would never do at that level, and basically left that 5-hole gaping wide open and essentially moved over the puck so that the puck would go right straight through the 5-hole and into the net.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anybody who's played a lot of hockey would have seen that and known right away that he let that in. But, hey, it was entertaining.
It was.
It really was. A lot of casual fans were convinced that the kid actually beat Carey Price. But
it added to the entertainment value. That whole evening, we thoroughly enjoyed it. I would have rather watched that than just about anything. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And you know, one of the things I did all weekend long too. There's and I'm going to do a shout out to one of the other podcasts that I listened to. I don't know if you still listen. Do you still listen to the Puck Podcast?
Every now and then I do, yes.
Yeah, it's
a long podcast for me for what I do, you know. But
it's a very long podcast, and you know, as a result, I don't listen to every show start to finish every week either. But those two guys live out there in L.A., Anaheim, wherever you want to call it, because one's a Ducks fan, one's a Kings fan, right? Well, they were going on Facebook Live all weekend long. They'd all of a sudden they'd pop up. We're live. You know, they were live. Right after the unveiling of the top 100 on Friday night. They were live Saturday morning. You know, all through the weekend, they just kept popping up, going live for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And they were both in the building for the skills competition. They watched it from the arena. And neither one of them was too impressed with it. For being in the stands. And they speculated, and I kind of agree with them, that skills competition is more of a made-for-TV event, because you see the camera guys, you know, right up against the, you know, right on the players as they go in, you know, extreme close-ups for the camera, you know, camera crews on the ice following them around, and you know, the mics that are on the players, that, you know, you get to hear them interacting with each other. You don't get that if you're in the building. You're watching it from afar. Of course, they were watching it from the press box, so they were way up there.
Yeah.
And they said it just really wasn't very entertaining if you were in the building with them. But
I could see that.
But on TV, on TV, it was a much better, you know, product. Yeah. It was the skills competition, and I went to the skills competition in Raleigh, and I can kind of see where they come from, because I was in the building for the skills competition. And, you don't get to see those interactions with the players, you know, player to player. You know, they're mic'd up and the cameras are on them. And you get to see and hear the conversations between the players, them joking around. That stuff goes on TV, but when you're in the building, you don't get to see that stuff. And you lose a little bit of that entertainment value of it. So, so I see where they were disappointed with the skills competition, but of course you and I were pleased with it because we watched it on TV. We weren't in the building.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. Well, that's pretty much you know, all I have for the skills competition. So let's talk about the games. So essentially, Atlantic Division won the skills competition. So what they had was the thing here. There we go. Had to pull up the article. So Atlantic Division, because they won the skills competition, they had the choice between who they played and when they played. They chose to play the Metropolitan Division, which I was surprised when they did that, because, you know, of the talent that the Metropolitan Division has on their team. And they decided, I figured they'd want to go first to be able to rest between the games, and then, you know, if they won, go on to the championship. But no, they went completely against it, and against what I thought they'd do, and they decided to play Metro first, but play them in the second period. So that way they'd play Metro, and then right after the Zamboni, go right back out there and play, you know, the winner if they won. Well, it ended up backfiring because, let's go back to the first period. Pacific Division had to play the Central Division, and that really wasn't much of a game. Pacific Division
ran away with that.
Yeah, they ran away with that 10-3.
Yeah,
and they held a pretty good lead right from the go. And then Metropolitan Division played the Atlantic Division in the second period, and the game was close for the first half, and Montreal fans would probably say, hey, yeah, Carey Price held him in it, and then Tuukka Rask blew it. But that really wasn't the case from what I saw, but it was 3-3 at the half. between Metropolitan and Atlantic, and then Metropolitan ended up pulling away and winning the game 10-6.
Yep.
So that set up the championship between the Metropolitan Division and the Pacific Division. And I'll have to lean on you on this one a little bit because I didn't get to see that part of it. I had to referee Sunday night, so I left after the second period, and I missed the championship.
Well, the game was close. The Pacific Division actually had the lead there for a little bit. I do not have the final score in front of me, but I know
4-3 Metro.
It was and the Metro won by 1 goal in the end there. The Pacific Division had a chance to tie the game in the closing couple minutes. And Ryan McDonough blocked a shot there in the end when the net was completely open. I believe it was Braden Holtby was in goal in the second period of that game, or the second half. And but it was a very exciting game. Either team could have won it. And of course, had they finished in a tie, they would have went immediately to the shootout.
Yep.
But that did not happen.
I think Metro scored late in the third or late in the game. Late in the game, yeah.
They did. I'm trying to remember who scored the goal to put them ahead.
Well, Wayne Simmons ended up with the MVP. Did he score the game winner?
I think Wayne Simmons scored the game winner.
He scored the game winner, okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I believe that's correct.
Yep.
He had 3 goals on the night.
Yep.
And I think the last goal he scored was the game winner. If I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong. But anyways, the Metropolitan division was in a dogfight the whole way, scored at the end there.
Yep.
And they also took away a goal from the Pacific Division on an offsides call.
Oh, they went to replay.
They did.
That's right, they did.
Wayne Gretzky used his coach's challenge, and they took away the goal. And Pete DeBoer, they showed a picture of him, and he looked like, "Are you serious?" But it's $1 million on the line, and those guys are getting paid. So maybe it's food for thought in the future. If I was a coach and I knew that I could earn $75,000, $85,000, if my team won, you better believe I'm going to do whatever I can.
That's right.
To earn the money. So that's what it was all about.
And I think you're going to see the intensity level in these All-Star games. And I think that's the whole reason they went to this format, is try to increase the intensity level so that it doesn't just look like a pickup game.
Yeah.
Now, granted, even with the $1 million on the line, at least in the first 2 periods anyway, both teams, or all 4 teams, looked like they weren't playing at their absolute, highest intensity.
No, they weren't. Even in the first game of the finals, Wayne.
Yeah.
In the first period, it wasn't as go-get-'em and as contested as it was in the second period. Really, it was almost like a hockey game.
Yeah.
3-on-3. And as I said, Wayne Gretzky used the coach's challenge. Those types of things happened. So it was entertaining again. I really enjoyed it. I was worried. I frankly was worried there'd be a letdown from last year, but there wasn't.
Nope. And I think next year they'll just take another step up. So, all right. Well, I think we've done enough talking about the All-Star weekend. Unless you have anything else you want to add about it, well, let's go ahead and move on to some of the other things that's happened over the past week.
Yeah, let's move on, Wayne.
All right. So first, the next thing on my list is transactions, and we've had a couple. One of them today, Ken Hitchcock, earlier today, was fired as coach of the St. Louis Blues on Wednesday, or today, and replaced by associate coach Mike Yao. Obviously, it's a difficult day for myself, General Manager Doug Armstrong said. I made a hard decision to change coaches. Mike will take over. I'm excited about that. It's a great day for Mike, a rebirth now for this group of players. We're excited. Goaltending coach Jim Corsi also was fired. Assistant General Manager Martin Brodeur and goalie development coach Ty Conklin, a UNH grad, by the way, would fill that role for the remainder of the season. Hitchcock was 248, 124, and 41 in 6 seasons with the Blues, and 20 and 27 in the playoffs. The Blues finished first or second in the Central Division each of Hitchcock's 4 seasons. So even when you're winning nowadays, it's not enough to keep your job.
Yeah,
they're in 4th place right now.
Yep. Wayne, I just say Hitchcock's been around many, many years. He's won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
He's widely revered as one of the best coaches, not only in the NHL now, but of all time.
Yep. Agreed.
He had already set up, and it's probably with management setting it up, but they had the system in place for Mike Yeo to take over at the first of next year anyways.
Yeah.
So it's not a big – he makes it to the All-Star game, and they let him go. I really – that doesn't shock me. And the fact that, he's winning, well, he's going to be gone at the end of this year anyways. It's already been agreed upon.
Yep.
So I don't see that as a stepping down and a getting rid and a firing and a, oh gosh, woe is me, as much as I see it as a step up and a move into place for Mike Yeo.
Which by the sounds of it, it looked like that was the move that was going to take place anyway.
Right.
Down the road. They just got kind of had their hand forced to do it now instead of look like it almost sounds like they were going to do this during the offseason this year.
Right.
That Hitchcock was probably going to step down, kind of semi-retire, I guess, if you want to call it. But it was, this just has the classic signs of, the team's not performing the way they should be.
Right.
And someone's got to take the fall, and usually the first person that does is the coach.
Right.
This is a team that should be contending, not just competing, but contending for a Stanley Cup.
You're right.
And they're sitting in fourth place right now, barely hanging on to a playoff spot.
You're right.
So
you're absolutely right.
So this is basically a shot at the players. Say, look, you guys need to step it up. Some of the comments I saw coming out of the St. Louis was that one of the problems that this team has is it's I've heard the term general contractors. This is a team of not general contractors, independent contractors. They're not playing as a team. They're playing as a bunch of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And until they learn to start playing as a team, they're going to continue to struggle.
Well, that's a good point. What I saw, listen, I watched a game, I think it was last week. If not, it was 2 weeks ago, where the St. Louis Blues played Pittsburgh and throttled them 3-0. It was never a game.
Yeah.
And they played great. They played like the team I think will emerge and go to the playoffs. A strong team. I think St. Louis, they don't need to they're not in the position where if things go bad, they got to trade some players and move them around. I think it's really sucking it up and putting a consistently good product out each night.
Yeah, they're just not getting that performance consistently.
That's
certainly
the
not
problem.
Consistently enough.
And you and I agree, St. Louis could go to the Stanley Cup. They got to have a standout performance from Jake Allen or whoever their number one is going to be.
Yep.
Which I think they've rested that on Jake Allen right now, but they have a lot of talent and they have the offensive power. They have the defensive power to do it. They're just not doing it consistently. So when you can go on the ice, I think that game was in Pittsburgh too. Could be wrong about that. And beat the defending Stanley Cup champions and do it soundly without, you could have heard a pin drop. It was, I watched them play. They look great. So I don't know. It's a consistency thing. And maybe that's why they decided to ask Ken Hitchcock to step down now.
Yep. Well, anyway, I guess we'll have to see what's if the players respond to this move, but sounds like there's a lot of trouble in that locker room right now.
Yeah.
All right, on to the other transaction we've had, and I believe it was also today. Well, no, Monday. It happened Monday. New York Islanders agreed to terms with goaltender Thomas Greiss on a 3-year contract. The contract is worth $10 million, Newsday reported. Greiss, who turned 31 on Sunday, is 14-7-3 with a 2.25 goals against average and .928 save percentage in 25 games this season. He could have become an unrestricted free agent this summer. Greiss signed a 2-year, $3 million contract with the Islanders on July 1. He's 73-48-18 with 2.41 goals against average and a .919 save percentage and 6 shutouts in 155 career NHL games with the Sharks, Coyotes, Penguins, and Islanders. And the Islanders, as a result, not as a result of this signing, but since they fired Capuano, I believe they have points in every game, at least 1 point in every game they've played since the firing. It's like 7-game point streak going on right now. So
yeah, That's true.
So as
They're
if the
playing-
Metro division is not crowded enough as it is, you got the Islanders trying to climb back into things.
Didn't they play somebody They played the Capitals last night?
I believe they did. I can look it up real quick. Yeah, they did. Yeah, Islanders 3, Capitals 2.
They won. That's
Yeah.
right.
They beat the Capitals.
So they, I don't know, letting Capuano go and all of a sudden they're playing well. I don't know. Doug Waite may be just a breath of fresh air. I don't know.
Yeah, it's essentially what it is. It probably woke the team up and say, look, the team probably got together and said, look, we got to either shape up or,
Yeah.
or get off the pot. to use a term, yeah.
That's true.
But those numbers Grice is putting up this year, pretty decent though. 14-7-3.
Mm-hmm. And he's been he was the star of the week on one of the 3 stars.
Yeah, and that's one of our stories that we'll get to. But yeah, last week he was one.
Last
of the
week
stars.
he was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So well, kudos to him for getting a new contract anyway. Looks like the Islanders have decided who their goalie of the future is, and everybody else is going to be exposed in the waiver draft or the expansion draft.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's move on to injuries. And for the first time all season, it is a very, very short list, mostly because nobody's been playing. But
That's right.
I've only got 2 injuries so far. I've got Pittsburgh Penguins' Connor Sherry will miss 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury. Sherry, who plays left wing on the top line with Sidney Crosby, did not practice on Wednesday after having 1 assist in a 4-2 win against the Nashville Predators last night. He has 35 points in 42 games, his second season in the NHL. Now, how many of those 35 points are simply because he plays with Sidney Crosby, or is he really that good?
I think he's a very good player.
So
I think Connor Sherry, if you watch the games that Pittsburgh plays, I think Connor Sherry is very, very good. But yes, a lot of those points that he's got are because he plays with Sidney Crosby.
Right.
But I think Sherry's
he's only his second season, so I guess it's a little early to tell if he's going to be a bona fide star or if he's just going to be a regular player. But time will tell there. I think when you start seeing him play off that line somewhere else, we'll get a better picture of how good a player he really is. So if he can still put up points even though Crosby's not feeding him. All right. And the other injury is actually to a broadcaster that I have, LA Kings broadcaster Bob Miller, who had quadruple bypass surgery last season, was taken to a hospital Saturday afternoon after feeling discomfort. And as it turned out, later on, another article came out saying that he had a mild stroke.
Oh, wow.
And he is there. I don't have it written down. I can't remember if he's there. Of course, LA Kings fans will be yelling at me right now, but I don't know if he's their radio guy or their TV guy.
He does the TV broadcast.
Does he? Okay.
Bob Miller. Yeah.
He's 78.
forever.
Yeah, 78 years old. And of course, I would recognize his voice as soon as I heard it, but
yeah,
I just couldn't remember for whatever reason if he was radio or TV. But
the Western Conference, of course, he's this elder statesman.
Yep.
And then in the Eastern Conference, you got Rick Jeanneret with the Buffalo Sabres, and they've both been around for 40 plus years.
Mike Lang with the Penguins has been around a long time too.
You got me on that one. He's the longest in the NHL. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know Rick Jeanneret's been around a long time.
But all those guys are getting up there in age, so.
Yeah. But Bob Miller, it's interesting, Wayne. Earlier this year, I tuned in. I was like, I'm going to watch a Kings game. And Bob Miller was not there. He was not on the air.
Yeah, he's been doing because of his health. He's been doing a lighter schedule this year. He doesn't do every game like he used to.
They had Gary Thorne.
Really?
Fill in for him, and I think Gary Thorne is one of the best.
I love Gary Thorne as a hockey broadcaster.
Awesome.
I wish he would quit baseball and go back to hockey, but
same here. He's electrifying in hockey, and I wish he would continue in hockey.
Well, with all these older broadcasters that are sprinkled around the league, as some of these guys retire, an opening we'll probably see Gary Thorne again as a hockey guy because a lot of these positions will open up, and I would imagine a lot of teams would have Gary Thorne at the top of their list because I was very disappointed when ESPN dropped the NHL, and of course Gary Thorne was employed with them at the time, and when it went to NBC, I was extremely disappointed that Gary Thorne didn't make the move over to NBC as well. He ended up signing with the Baltimore Orioles, and he does Orioles games now.
Oh, I see.
So,
well, when I saw him doing the Kings broadcast, I was like, my gosh,
It's like old times, right?
It's like the old times, but he's just as good.
Yeah.
Just as exciting. And, he could really breathe life into a boring moment in an NHL game. He was that good.
And, of course, I'm a little bit biased with Gary Thorne, too, because he's a Maine guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he's from Old Town, Maine, the town right outside the University of Maine. And, in fact, when the University of Maine won their first national title and they did a highlight video, like a lot of teams do, the end of season highlight video.
Yeah.
Well, he was the narrator for this video.
Oh, okay.
And he was still in his early days at ESPN, but he's got his start in broadcasting up there at up and around the Bangor, University of Maine area. So, but even if he wasn't, I still would be a favorite of his because he does a fantastic job.
Yes, he does.
Doing hockey.
I agree with you 100%.
So. And I wish he'd leave baseball and come back to hockey.
I do too.
Yeah.
Boy, I hope somehow somebody gets this podcast in front of him and he hears it. There's a lot of hockey fans starving for him to come back to the NHL.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we're not the only fans that are starving for him to come back.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to milestones, records, and honors. And pretty much this week, all we have is, because there weren't any games, obviously nobody's hitting any milestones. So we just have our players of the week. And, in fact, they released players of the month for January. So Washington Capitals center Evgeny Kuznetsov, Boston Bruins left wing Brad Marchand, and San Jose Sharks defenseman Brent Burns, also known as Chewbacca, have been named NHL's 3 stars for the month of January. Kuznetsov ranked second in the NHL with 20 points in 15 games to power the league-leading Capitals to a 12-2-1 January. That's a pretty good month. Brad Marchand led the NHL with 20 points in 14 games and 2 slewfoots to guide the Bruins to 6-6-2 January. And Chewbacca paced the NHL defenseman with 6 goals, 12 assists, and 18 points in 14 games to lift the Pacific Division leading Sharks to a 9-4-1 January.
Now, I tell you what, I'm going to stick up for Brett Burns. I think, and I'm probably not going out that far on a limb, but I think he's going to win the Norris Trophy this year.
A lot of people believe that. And, he's certainly going to be a finalist. I'd be surprised if he's not a finalist.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to be a finalist. But I think he's going to win a Norris Trophy. I really do.
And he is, without a doubt, the best-dressed man in hockey right now.
He is. And that beard, I'm telling you, that beard.
The beard, the toothless grin, I mean, the whole thing. The man bun, the whole thing. Yeah. And the clothes he wears he is a unique guy, that's for damn sure.
Dazzling personality.
And from what I understand, he's a lot of fun to be around, too.
He came out on the ice in between periods when Nick Jonas put on that little show in between periods.
Yep.
I forget who came out there with him. Might have been Brad Marchand. They came out on the ice and sat down and watched the concert.
Watched the concert in between games.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. So no, he's a good personality. I like him very much.
Yep. For sure. All right, Toronto Maple Leafs center back to Marchand. He had another slewfoot yesterday in the game. After the one he got last week that he got fined $10,000, he did it again last night. But I believe he did it on purpose. I don't know if you've seen the video on that. But,
I haven't. I didn't. I just first I've heard of it.
Yeah, well, it happened last night, and the NHL deemed that it was accidental or it was just incidental contact. But I've played enough games to know that to me it looked like he did it on purpose. Did it one of those kind of accidentally on purpose kind of plays. When you get a chance, you'll have to look it up. But he got away with it because the NHL reviewed it and they deemed that no further action needed to be taken. And he didn't even get penalized for it. But even me as a Bruins fan says that Marchand did it on purpose. That's why I had to put that in there, that he had 20 points in 14 games and 2 slewfoots last month. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Maple Leaf center Mitch Marner, who led all rookies with 11 assists and 15 points in 13 games, has been named the NHL's Rookie of the Month for January. Marner edged Carolina Hurricanes right wing Sebastian Aho, who had 10 points in 13 games. Detroit Red Wings right wing Anthony Mantha, I think that's Mo Mantha's kid too, 10 points in 14 games, and Winnipeg Jets right wing Patrick Laine, who had 10 points in 6 games for the honor. And Lane almost won the hardest shot, too. He finished second.
You know, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was surprising to see that he had a hardest shot, or that he was up there. All right, well, kudos to those guys. Philadelphia Flyers right wing Wayne Simmons, San Jose Sharks left wing Patrick Marleau, and Toronto Maple Leafs goaltender Frederik Andersen have been named the NHL's 3 stars for the week ending January 29th. Simmons earned MVP honors on Sunday's NHL All-Star Game and also registered 2 goals in 2 games earlier in the week with the Flyers. Marleau led the NHL with 5 goals and 6 points in 3 games to power the Pacific Division leading Sharks to a pair of wins, and Andersen earned 2 shutouts in the 2 games he played in, stopping all 48 shots he faced to propel the Maple Leafs to 2 victories in 3 games. So kudos to those guys.
Yes.
So, and of course, moving on to suspensions and fines, there weren't any.
There weren't any.
Even though Brad Marchand got put on, notice by the NHL, but they ultimately didn't decide on anything. So that brings us to other interesting stories. All right, the first one I have is actually a very Rangers-centered story. Won't mean anything to you if you're not a Rangers fan, or not a Rangers fan living in the New York area anyway. MSG Networks announced today that it's reached an agreement with the NHL for live streaming rights to the Rangers, Devils, Islanders, and Sabres games. In the coming weeks, MSG Network's unmatched lineup of exclusive local live NHL hockey games will be made available to customers of participating operators on MSG Go. I guess that's an app you can get. The MSG Network's live streaming and on-demand product. As the outlet for more live local NHL games than any other RSN in the country. Well, of course, there's 4 teams that they cover. We're pleased to partner with the NHL and our teams to provide hockey fans with additional ways to view our games, said Andrea Greenberg, president and CEO of MSG Networks. With the addition of the NHL, the MSG Go certainly will be a premier mobile destination for hockey fans in the region. With this agreement, the MSG Networks once again demonstrates what it means to be an excellent partner for our clubs, said David Proper, Executive Vice President of Media and International Strategy for the NHL. Together, we share a vision for serving our fans who are extremely passionate about their teams. This agreement for live streaming on MSG Go is all about fulfilling demand and providing our fans for the type of access they want in the way that is most convenient to them. In addition to MSG Network's live professional game coverage, MSG Go includes pre- and post-game shows, as well as the episodes of MSG Network's award-winning programming. With MSG Go, fans are able to access upcoming schedules, set reminders on their devices for games that are being televised on MSG Networks. MSG Go is currently available at no charge for subscribers of participating television providers who receive MSG Networks as part of their pay television subscription. So I guess you and I could get it.
Yes, sounds like it.
I have MSG. Subscribers with a supported smartphone or tablet can download the MSG Go app by visiting the App Store or the Google Play Store. On computers, customer may visit msggo.com. So essentially what it is I wonder if they'll black it out for out of market. I guess we'll have to try it.
That's a good question.
So if you are a fan of one of those 4 teams, this probably would be an app to have on your phone, because it looks like you can essentially watch the MSG Networks right on your phone or computer. So you wouldn't need to buy the subscription to the NHL package if they're televising.
That's true. Bypass that.
I guess you got to figure out if they're blacking out outside the New York area, though.
I would not do that either. I would buy center ice.
Yeah.
Because I do watch a lot of games other than just the Rangers games.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I do too, but I have the online package. I watch them in my office, and I put them on my Roku in the living room. So I watch the streaming package because, well, we've had this discussion before. With the streaming package, I can come home late at night and watch a game that happened earlier in the evening on replay without having to miss it. So which you don't get with center ice. All right, next story. Nolan Patrick, number 1 on NHL's Central Scouting's midterm ranking of North American skaters eligible for the 2017 NHL Draft, had 2 assists to help Team Don Cherry to a 7-5 win against Team Bobby Orr in the 22nd CHL NHL Top Prospects game at Videotron Center on Monday. Patrick, who plays for the Brandon of the Western Hockey League, has 8 goals and 9 assists in 11 games this season. He's missed a lot of time due to injury. Halifax center Nico Hischier, who's ranked number 2, had a goal, 2 assists, and finished 8 for 14 on faceoffs for Team Orr. Hershier was named MVP for his team. Patrick won 12 of 16 faceoffs. Wow, that's dominant. Isaac Ratcliffe from Guelph. Antoine Morand from Acadie Bathurst. Mackenzie Entwistle. I should have read this before I recorded. Mackenzie Entwistle from Hamilton. Maxine Comtoy from Victoriaville. Gabriel Villardi of Windsor. Owen Tippett from Mississauga, and Jake Lecision from Regina scored, and defenseman Henri Yokoharu from Portland had 3 assists for Team Cherry. So those are your stars from that game. That game is a fun game to watch, and I wanted to watch it, but for whatever reason I was tied up. I couldn't do it. It's a good game to watch to see the up-and-coming stars that will be drafted in June. Because that's what that game is all about, is showing off those young kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all CHL players, so you don't have any of the Europeans, you don't have any of the college kids in that game. It's just simply Major Junior in Canada. But it's still, Major Junior in Canada still puts the majority of the players through the draft.
Yeah.
Even today. All right. And the last story, well, that's not the last story. I got a couple more. Next story. You've heard of the emergency backup goalie. Courtney Daniels was the emergency backup singer. I don't know if you even knew that. I didn't know this when we watched the game. The LA Kings ice crew member made the save of the day. Pop group Fifth Harmony. I've never heard of that group.
No.
Fifth Harmony. Is that, my wife just said because I'm old.
I've heard of Fifth Dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But not
anyway.
Fifth.
Pop group Fifth Harmony was supposed to sing the Star Spangled Banner before the All-Star game on Sunday, but a group member fell ill, so they canceled. Well, that's kind of inconsiderate to do that. If they had any talent at all, they would have gone on without him. But anyway, don't get me going on pop stars and their lack of talent.
I'll just sing Fifth Dimension songs. This is the dawning of the
right. So with roughly 10 minutes of notice, Daniels was told she would go on. No rehearsal, no warm-up. In front of a packed house at the Staples Center, Daniels absolutely crushed. And you know, when I watched the national anthem, I thought she did a fantastic job.
She did.
I thought she was a country singer like that I hadn't heard of. But turns out she's just one of the ice crew members.
Isn't it? I had no idea about this, and she did a great job.
She crushed it. She did a really good job.
Man.
It was an amazing rendition. I felt so honored and was so excited and really wanted to help any way I could, Daniels told the LA Kings website. I kind of looked around at everyone. I wanted to take in every moment. I was happy the fans cheered with support. Daniels also got to present the $1 million check to the Metropolitan Division team and the MVP award to Philadelphia Flyers forward Wayne Simmons. It was such an incredible weekend to just be in the arena this weekend, let alone be part of it in such an amazing way. So honored. And to give the MVP away was just unforgettable, she said. Yeah. So what an amazing story that was. To find out after the fact that she's just one of the ice crew members. Of course, in L.A., everybody's talented, but, you know.
Yeah, they're waiting for their big break.
They're waiting for their big break, and I think she got it. I bet you'll see that some record company will scoff her right up.
Oh, yeah. She did great. That's great news. That's a very good story.
So yeah, kudos to her because she did a fantastic job with that national anthem, especially now knowing after the fact that, you know, what little time she had to prepare for it. All right, let's talk about the Gary Bettman conference. I don't have an article to read verbatim, but there were a lot of topics, or he kind of had a press conference over the weekend talking about various topics. The first one was he was asked about having an all-star game in Las Vegas, and he said that there's going to be a game in Vegas sooner rather than later. So, and I bet you'll see production value similar to what we saw in LA. It's going to be very over the top, you know, Vegas-y style probably.
Yep. They might waltz the White Tigers from the Mirage out onto the ice, and I could just see
all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. Wayne Newton singing the national anthem.
Oh man. I'm gonna have trouble stopping laughing on that one.
Anyway, so he did say that if they don't go to the Olympics next year, that they will have an all-star game. But if they do go to the Olympics, they won't have an all-star game because they just simply don't have time for it. But and they haven't decided where next year's All-Star game will be. But he did say that the Golden Knights will host one in the very near future. So, and I get that because they want to grow hockey in that market, and a good way to grow hockey in that market is to bring the entire league's attention to that market. It did a lot for the Carolinas here anyway when they did the All-Star game here in 2011. Everybody raved about this market back then. Things have changed a little bit, but since then, there's certainly no reason we can't get back to it. But anyway, so yeah. And he said, I think our intention at some point in the earlier days of the franchise, as opposed to 20 or 30 years down the road, Commissioner Bettman said, I think we could have fun in Las Vegas with an All-Star game. So I think he secretly wants to meet Wayne Newton too.
Oh, gosh.
So, as far as the Olympics,
I'll bring the cash out on.
And
They'll bring the cash out on the ice and bring the craps table out there in between periods. You know.
Yeah, right.
I can see all kinds of stuff happening.
Have a big roulette wheel at center ice.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway. As far as the 28 Olympics are concerned, nothing really has changed on that front. It looks like the owners really don't want to participate, but the players still do. So nothing has really changed there. And of course, they talked about they have plans to release next year's schedule in June, but obviously they need to decide on the Olympics first before they can come up with a schedule for next year. And
incidentally, Wayne, quickly,
yeah,
that's one of my favorite days of the off season is when they release the next season's schedule. That is I jump around with glee the whole day when that happens. That's one of my favorite days, and it varies. It's not the same day, of course. It varies every year when they release it. But that is, I'm looking forward to that already.
Yeah, because that's when we look on the calendar, see when the Rangers come to Raleigh, see when the Bruins come to Raleigh. and
make
start,
a road trip.
And start getting our time off requests in so that we can have those nights off.
That's right.
From work.
That's exactly right. Yep.
All right. One of the other things that was discussed was the insertion of the bye week, and they're not sure if they're going to do that again next year because some of the concerns that have come up as a result of having that bye week is the rest of the schedule becomes compressed, and some of the players don't like that. So it's something they got to discuss with the Players Association before they release the schedule to figure out if they're going to do the bye weeks again next year. They also talked about ice conditions around the league, and they had Dan Craig, NHL Vice President of Facilities Operations and Hockey Operations, basically the quote-unquote ice guru, basically put all the GMs on notice saying, look, we've got to up our game. We've had a lot of ice issues. You know, you got the game that was canceled in Carolina. There was another game that
in Pittsburgh.
With
the massive crater in the ice.
Yeah,
remember that?
That game that was delayed for a long time as they tried to fix the things in Pittsburgh, and then of course you got the ongoing issues up there in the island, with the Islanders. So Dan Craig basically sent out notice to the GMs telling them to, have the rink managers at the different rinks step up their game, and we can't be having it affect our schedule. So, to just paraphrase what he told them. So they talked about that, and then they talked about the Islanders themselves, about their future at the Barclays Center. And Bettman said that the owners are committed to that franchise. They're committed to New York and the great fan base that has followed the Islanders. There are some issues about playing at Barclays that may be fundamental as to the ice system. That's not something that can be fixed in the short term. I think Scott Malkin and John Ledecky are reviewing the situation and looking very seriously at what their options are. And I think the Barclays Center, I've seen articles, aren't exactly happy with the Islanders being there either. So you might see the Islanders moving out of that arena fairly soon. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved out this summer and found somewhere else to go. Wouldn't you be shocked if they ended up at the Garden?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that story happen, but
I wouldn't like that. I would not like that at all.
Or go over to New Jersey and share the rink over there with them.
Yeah, Prudential at the Rock.
Yeah. Here's what they should do. They should just play all their home games outdoors at Giant Stadium or whatever the name of it is today.
Yeah. Something, I don't know. I feel for them because they can't get an arena. I really do.
I know they don't want to go back to Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah, well, let's face it. They're going to lose money if they do that.
Yeah.
They will. They'll lose money. So it's a tough situation there. But Barclays Center, I mean, unless they really pick up their situation, they're long term there, it doesn't look like it's going to agree with them.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll do, but
yeah. Well, I guess time will tell. We'll have to watch and see what's going to happen. But it's troubling being an Islanders fan right now. That's for sure.
Yep.
Even though the team is starting to turn things around on the ice, but not knowing where you're going to be playing your home games is got to be tough if you're an Islanders fan. And then one of the other things they talk about, speaking of teams and homes, is the Carolina Hurricanes. Commissioner Bettman said it was unclear what owner Peter Kamanos would do with the Carolina Hurricanes, but he reiterated that the franchise will not leave Raleigh, North Carolina.
There you go.
He said Peter may sell, he may not sell, Commissioner Bettman said. He may sell all of it, he may sell some of it, he may sell none of it. There's no formal sale process going on. There's no imperative for the franchise to be sold on any immediate basis, and the franchise is not moving. So, Quebec, back off.
Very good point. I think it puts it to rest.
For now.
Yeah, I really do. Raleigh's not up for grabs.
Yep. So, and I think, like we've been saying over and over again, when the team starts winning again and they're showing signs of it, the attendance will come back.
Yep.
It always has in the past. So it's just one of those markets where the team's got to be competitive, at least competitive on the ice. They don't have to make the playoffs every year, but at least half the time make the playoffs, or at least be close to the playoffs by season's end.
Right.
And they'll fill the arena again. But missing it 7 years in a row with no hope of possible, there really wasn't much of a hope for them making the playoffs this year. Yeah, of course some of the fans aren't going to go. Tickets are expensive.
They sure are. And don't get me going.
And I did read an article earlier this season that the reason the attendance is so low in Carolina is that Ron Francis, I think, is the one driving it, or it could be the guy on the business side. I can't remember his name, but a guy on the business side. What's his name? Waddell. Is it Waddell? Yeah. Who's running kind of the business side of the franchise. Before, they were giving away a lot of free tickets to corporations and groups, and there were a lot of tickets that were just being comped just to get people in the building, and they've stopped that practice. They're no longer doing that.
That's a good thing.
And because because people would just hold out for the free tickets and they wouldn't buy tickets. And they still got to pay the players' salaries. So rather than giving away so many comp tickets to this group or this corporation or that company, they stopped that practice. And now pretty much, if you want to get a good deal on tickets, you got to become a season ticket holder. That's the best way to get good prices on tickets in Carolina. And they got good deals for season tickets. If you're a full season ticket holder, you do get other tickets added on. Like you can bring, 2 or 3 times a year, you can bring, instead of your 2 tickets, say you got 2, you can bring 4 more people to the game for free, that kind of stuff, season ticket holder benefits. So they do a lot of that stuff down here, but they've stopped the practice of giving away free tickets. And of course they're, that combined with the team not being very good on the ice, has all come together into very low attendance, but they're turning things around.
They got those family nights too. Of course, I think a lot of teams do this, where you get reduced concession prices for, you bring a family.
Reduced ticket prices too.
Yep. Get dinner for cheap.
Yep.
Dollar hot dogs, that type thing. They do have that.
Yep.
Which is always good.
Yep. So, but it's good. It's reassuring to hear that Bettman is now saying the franchise is not moving. So. And then the last thing he talked about in his press conference was talking about following the NBA's lead and putting advertisements on jerseys, which makes me cringe. He said it would take an unusual circumstance, which I would define as a lot of money that I'm having trouble comprehending right now, for us to even think about it, Commissioner Bettman said. We think what we have is special. We talk about history and tradition and how special hockey jerseys are. We're not looking to put advertising on our sweaters.
Very good.
So, which I 100% agree with, because European jerseys, you can't tell who they're playing for.
Yeah.
Because there's so many damn logos on the jersey.
It's
not only the jerseys, but the ice. Have you seen some of these rinks over there where there's, the NHL has the logos between the blue lines at center ice, but inside the zones, there's no advertisements. But I've seen some rinks where I think I've counted 25, 30 logos on the ice from end to end, all over the damn ice, and you can't see the puck because some of these logos are just, it's so distracting.
Yeah.
So I hope they keep that somewhat limited as well.
In mind, keep it in mind.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's
It's like they're wearing soccer jerseys over there.
Yeah.
In the KHL. Might as well say the KHL. You go online in the KHL, they've got stuff all over the jersey.
Yep.
And Russian's hard enough to read to begin with.
Yep. Yeah. They got characters that in their alphabet that we don't know what they even mean or sound like. Anyway, I don't know Russian, so it just looks like hieroglyphics to me. So
yeah.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on is the top 100. We want to go back to that a little bit. Of course, the NHL released all 100 of the greatest players of all time. And, of course, that invokes the discussion, and we won't really get into it here too much about who was left off that list. But what I did want to talk about was an article that came out that shows some statistics about these 100 players. So, of course, if you want to see the whole list of 100, I did include a link in the show notes to the full list of all 100 players. So if you wanted to see who it comes, kind of be a waste of time to just list them all right now. But you can see the full list. If you go to the show notes, click on the link, you'll be able to see all 100 players. But some interesting stats by these, concerning these 100 players, okay? You have, by position, you have 39 centers, 21 defensemen, 15 right wingers, 15 goaltenders, and just 10 left wingers on this list.
That's interesting.
All combined, they have 106,632 regular season games, 34,821 goals, 56,394 assists, 91,215 career points combined among these 100 players.
Wow.
And for goalies, 5,445 wins.
Isn't that something?
Now, as far as awards won by these 100 players, you have a combined 307 Stanley Cup titles, and these are as players. So some of these players were players, then coaches, then GMs, and so on. This is just talking about players. So 307 Stanley Cup titles among these 100 guys. So that's an average of 3 apiece. 68 Hart trophies, 25 Calder trophies, 46 Norris trophies, 58 Art Ross trophies, 10 Maurice Richard trophies. Of course, that award is not that old. That's a fairly recent award. There would be more Maurice Richard trophies if they had that award back when all these other awards were around. 38 10 Lindsay Awards, 13 Selke trophies, 38 Lady Byng trophies, 36 Conn Smythe trophies, 49 Vezina trophies, and 15 William Jennings trophies.
Amazing.
Among these 100 players. It's a lot of crooked numbers there.
Oh man, that's God.
So and the most awesome thing was to see all the pictures and the video of seeing all these 100 players. Well, of course, not all of them are alive, but the 60 or so that were in LA that are still, well enough to move about, to see them all on the stage all at one time. It's just an amazing collection of hockey talent that you probably will never see again. To see them all gathered together in the same place at the same time was just an amazing thing to see. You saw these press conferences. I saw one press conference where Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Bobby Orr were all sitting at the table together.
Yeah.
And just trading stories and, that kind of stuff. So pretty amazing stuff to see.
That was.
All right. Well, normally at this point in the podcast, we would do our HockeyNuts.com power ranking for the week. But we're going to go ahead and skip that this week because there's only been one night of games since we last recorded, and it's really not going to affect the rankings that much. So we'll pick the rankings up again next week, and it will be your turn, Steve, to give us your top 10. So
yes, sir.
Definitely have that one ready. So let's move
Okay,
ahead to taking a look at what's coming up this week. And I'll start with the Bruins because it's going to be a very light schedule. In fact, the first 21 days of February, the Bruins only have a total of 6 games in the first 21 days of February. So Bruins, of course, that includes their bye week in that span. So, but they have their 6-day bye week, but before that, they have another span of 7 days where they only have 1 game. So all these extra games that the Bruins have played, they have 5 and 6 games in extra that they've played above some of these other teams in the East. All these other teams are going to catch up with them this month because to have only 6 games in 21 days, you're going to see, even if Bruins win all 6 games, you're going to see them fall in the standings as a result of just simply not playing. But this week, in fact, tonight, they're playing the Capitals. And then later this week, they've got Toronto at home on Saturday. And that's it for the week for the Bruins.
Wow.
So they're at Washington tonight and at home against Toronto. Saturday. That's it for the week. Very light schedule this week.
Those are 2 big games.
Yeah, well, they got to win every game pretty much at this point. All right. Now, the Rangers. Do you have this schedule right in front of you?
I can tell you their schedule.
Yep.
Tomorrow night, we're at Buffalo for a must-win game. If they play like they did last night, it's going to be another. Buffalo has beat us twice this year, Wayne.
Yeah.
So, and, especially when it's at Buffalo, Rick Jenneret does the broadcast. I don't want to hear that man going bananas again. I've heard enough of that. I really have. So
that's why you need the NHL online package. You don't have to listen to Rick Jenneret on when you watch the game online. You can stick with your guys.
Well, they may have the home and away broadcast, in all fairness. So we'll see. But we play tomorrow night against the Sabres. And then on Sunday, we have a matinee game, 2 o'clock start time against the Calgary Flames, which I tell you what, just for a minute, Johnny Gaudreau. He very easily could have been the MVP of that game, the All-Star. Yes. He played great.
He played awesome.
Johnny Gaudreau was just tremendous. So I'm looking forward to seeing him come to town and play in the Garden on Sunday. We need to win that one.
Yep.
And then the last game that we'll be reporting on next Wednesday night, if everything goes right, we play on Tuesday night against the Anaheim Ducks, and that as well is in the Garden.
Yep.
So that's our coming schedule. Yep. 3 tough games.
Yep. Now Carolina has a light week as well. They've got their I thought they already had their bye week, but they've got a span coming up from the 8th to the 16th of February. They only have 1 game. But this week coming up, they've got on the 3rd, they've got the Oilers at home. Ooh, that's intriguing. I might want to go to that game. I like watching the Oilers.
Yeah.
I'll have to see what I'm working Friday night, but I may want to go to that game if I can get good, cheap tickets. They've got Oilers at home on the 3rd. They've got the Islanders on the road on the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday night, they've got the Capitals on the road.
Yeah.
So only 3 games for Carolina coming up. And it's 3 tough games. You got the Capitals are playing well, the Oilers are playing really well, and the Islanders right now, quite frankly, are playing well. So another tough week for Carolina coming up.
Interesting week coming for them.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our NCAA Minute, and I have some good news for Maine hockey fans. The Maine hockey team got 2 wins last weekend.
Oh, that's good.
2 wins.
Yeah.
Of course, it was against UMass Amherst, one of the weaker teams in Hockey East, but they did get 2 wins just the same. And upcoming this week, I don't have their schedule right in front of me. Maine has Providence.
Ooh.
And they're at Providence, and Providence is playing really well right now. In fact, Providence has worked their way into the top 20. They were unranked for most of the season. They're now the number 15 team in the country. So that is going to be a very tough test for Maine, especially playing on the road. But that's pretty much Maine's week in a nutshell. I wasn't able to sit down and talk about any of the big upsets and whatnot, so I will talk about the rankings going ahead. And I've got the U.S. College Hockey Online Coaches Poll right in front of me, and we have a new number 1 again this week, but I'll go down to number 10. We've got UMass Lowell, who's dropped from 7 down to number 10 this week. Number 9, I've got Western Michigan, and they are up from number 10. Number 8, BC, who they were number 13 last week. They had dropped completely out of the top 10, but BC has climbed back into the number 8 spot. Number 7, you've got Minnesota, who's dropped 1 spot. Penn State has dropped a little bit more. They're down to number 6 now, down from the number 4 spot. Harvard is now number 5. They were number 9 last week. Number 4, Union is coming on strong. They were number 5 last week. They're all the way up to number 4 this week. And then number 3, BU. They were number 1 last week, and they dropped down to number 3 this week. They've lost a couple of games, so some inconsistency coming out of that young, talented BU team. And number 2 is Denver. The Maine Black Bear alum coach, Jim Montgomery, Denver team. They're at number 2. They were number 3 last week. And then our new number 1 this week, and of course they've been number 1 before, is Minnesota Duluth. They were number 2 last week. Now, without talking about individual games this week, I do want to talk about the pairwise a little bit. And I've told you in recent weeks how the pairwise is essentially what determines the 16 teams that go on to the NCAA tournament at the end of March.
Yes.
Or beginning of March. Actually, the end of March. And starting in January every year, they update the rankings each week. And if you look at the rankings this week, of course, they run pretty similar to what the poll is. But right now, we've got Minnesota Duluth as the number 1 team in the country. You've got number 2 is Denver, number 3 BU, number 4 Western Michigan, number 5 Penn State. See, sounds very much like the U.S. College Hockey Online poll. 6 is Union. 7 is Minnesota, 8 is Harvard, 9 is North Dakota, 10 is Boston College. Now, Providence is number 11, so they're just outside the top 10. Number 12 is Vermont. Now, the way the coaches around college hockey look at it is even though there's 16 teams that make the tournament, you have to make room for the conference champions. There's 6 conferences in the NCAA that send teams to the tournament. And the conference winners of each of those 6 conferences get an automatic bid. Now, more often than not, the conference winner ultimately is one of the top 10 teams generally in the country. But every once in a while, someone comes out of nowhere and wins the conference tournament and grabs one of those automatic bids. So the coaches generally draw a line right around the 12 mark, that if you're in the top 12, you're probably in good shape for getting an at-large bid if you don't win the conference tournament. If you're anywhere lower than 12, you're on the bubble. So teams on the bubble right now would be number 13, UMass Lowell, number 14, St. Lawrence, number 15, Ohio State, and number 16, St. Cloud State. And teams below 16 generally have to do something to get in. If they want to get an at-large bid, they've got to climb above that. They got to get into that top 12. So there are a number of teams obviously below 16, and those teams all have work to do to get up there. And Maine, for those who are interested, is sitting at number 40.
Oh, wow. God.
They're sitting at number 40 out of 60 teams. So, yeah. The only chance Maine has of making it to the NCAAs at this point is they're going to have to win the Hockey East tournament. That's pretty much where they're at.
You never know. Look at Northeastern did it last year.
Yep. But they ended up in the rankings right at the end of the year too. So, but yeah, that's what it takes, because essentially all 60 teams in the country have a shot at making the NCAA tournament, even right up to the end of the season, because most of these conferences, every team makes the playoffs. So all you have to do is just win at the right time, and you can work your way into the NCAA tournament. But you got to, win your entire conference, and then you get the automatic bid, and then you get to be one of the 16 teams in the tournament. So very, very difficult when there's 60 teams to win the national championship. To me, it's a lot harder than the NHL, because NCAA tournament's one and done. There's no series in the NCAA tournament. So you need to win 4 games in a row to win the NCAA championship. And it's not easy, believe me. Maine's been there 5 times now. 5 times they've made it to the title game. They won it twice.
Wow.
They lost 3 times. But they've been to the Frozen Four 11 times.
That's good.
So
that's really good.
Yep. Of course, none since 2007. 2007 was the last time they made it into the tournament. So they've had a number of down years in a row, kind of like Carolina Hurricanes. All right, well, let's move on to our KHL Minute. And all I have really is just a couple of little things. I know you have a bit of a story, so I'll let you finish it. But I'll just make a couple of notes on what I have. Mozyakin set another record again today, actually, earlier today. Of course, they're several hours ahead of us, so they're well into the middle of the night now. All their games are already done for today. But Sergei Mozyakin is now the all-time leader for points in a single season with 81. Alexander Radulov had 80, and the article didn't say what season that was. I assume it was last year. Alexander Radulov had 80 points in a KHL season, and that was the record until today when Mozyakin passed him to score his 81st point. And he is now the all-time single-season leader in points in a season for the KHL. So
that is really something.
He's holding the goals record. He has the points record. He must have the assists record, right? Maybe?
Oh, I don't know there.
Yeah.
He is the Wayne Gretzky of the KHL.
Yep, which makes me wish he would come to the NHL, but he never did.
Or at least come over and play
we'll probably see him in the Olympics.
Yeah.
That would be something. See him in the Olympics playing for Russia.
Yeah, that would be. I'll tune in just to see that.
Against the NHL talent, so we get to see him play.
Yeah.
Because, quite frankly, we don't get to see we get to see highlights is basically what we get. That's how we're following is through highlights. Live games, you can get live games for the KHL, but it's quite expensive to buy that package. And I'm not interested enough in the KHL to buy their package along with the NHL package.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
That's right.
So I'll go ahead and let you do yours then.
You want me to go? Okay.
Yep.
Mine, Wayne, as you know, the KHL season is winding down.
It's getting there. Yep.
It's getting there. There, I believe, if I'm mistaken, there are now 8 teams that have clinched a playoff position in the KHL.
Yep.
8 teams have made it. One team was really stunning their way through things, and it wasn't one of the large favorite teams like CSKA or SKA or Magnitogorsk. This team, who was playing very well, was Salavat Ulayev. Ufa, the team in Ufa,
yep.
Salavat Ulayev, and they were playing very well. But as of the first of the year, they have really fallen off. And the article was titled, Salavat's Stuttering Form Continues. Speaking specifically about the game that they had a couple of nights ago against Severstal Sharapovets, which is the team that Pavel Buchnevich of the New York Rangers played for. That's the team. That's his hometown.
Yep.
Severstal Sharapovets won 3-2 over Salavat Ulayev in overtime. Salavat Ulayev may not be in serious danger of missing out on the playoffs yet, but a run of 7 straight defeats and just 2 wins from 11 games in 2017 gives cause for concern in Ufa. The loss in overtime at Severstal came despite the boost of an early lead thanks to Linus Omark's 6-minute opener on the power play. The home team recurred in the second period. I hope I said recover, excuse me. The home team recovered in the second period, scoring successive power play goals midway through the game to make it 2-1. And suddenly, Salavat had that all too familiar losing feeling once again. While Salavat Ulayev remains in 5th place in the East, they are dropping quickly and could find themselves out of the playoffs very soon. I don't know how many games they play in the KHL. I guess I should. Is it 72?
Yeah, I should know that too.
The teams are in the mid.
I know it's not as many. I know it's not as many as the NHL. I know they don't play 82 like that. I think it's either 68 or 72, somewhere in that neighborhood.
These teams are in the mid to upper 50s now.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 10, 12 games left.
Yep.
And this is a team that was playing very, very well, and they're falling off.
Yep.
So interesting to watch the playoff race and see how teams jockey. You see the same thing in the NHL, but it's not too often that you see a team that was up in 4th or 3rd place. And these guys are in 5th place now, and they're 1 or 2 points ahead of 6th and 7th place teams. So keep an eye on those guys. If you follow the KHL at all, it's interesting to watch these races really taking shape now.
Yep. Yeah, and you mentioned eight teams. Basically, what I have in the West, you've got SKA, CSKA, Torpedo, Lokomotiv, and Dynamo Minsk are the teams that have clinched playoff spots in the West. And of course, the West would be most of the teams are close to Moscow in that conference.
Right.
And so you've got 5 teams in the West that have already clinched. And you're looking at probably a 5-team race for the final 3 spots. If I glance at the, in fact, yeah, I'm looking at the standings, and there are the bottom 4 teams, the 11th through 14th. Medvesac, Severstal, Spartak, and Dynamo Riga are all mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, according to the standings I'm looking at.
Right.
Leaving Dynamo Minsk, Dinamo Videyez, Jokerit, HC, Sochi, Slovan, all competing for those last 3 spots.
Right.
In the East, you've got Metallurg, Magnitogorsk at the top. At Vanguard and AK Bars have clinched. You've got Ugra, Lada, and Metallurg, the other Metallurg team.
Right. There are 2 of them.
Yep. At the bottom of the standings, and everybody else is still in it. So you've got Traktor, Salavat, Yuledev, Barry's, Kunlun, that's the team in China, Admiral, Sibir.
Admiral's in there. They're in the playoffs right now. They're in 8th place.
Yep.
I'm happy about that.
Yep. And Salavat is in 5th, so they're not in too bad a shape, although they're only a couple points out, above the teams behind them. But Neftekmik, Automobilist, and Ammer are the other teams that are still in it, but Ammer looks like they're going to be eliminated probably in the next game or 2. Mm-hmm. So that leaves you with 8 teams competing for the last 5 spots in the East. And the Eastern Conference is considerably weaker than the Western Conference overall.
That's true.
In that league. So
although Magnitogorsk has won it the last 2 years.
They have, yeah. And they're by far, but they are head and shoulders above the other teams in that conference.
That's true. Yeah.
So they're kind of like the Cleveland Cavaliers of the way they dominate the East in the NBA is the way Metallurg is dominating the East in the KHL. So anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to our picks of the week.
Very good. And
yours is a better story than mine, in my opinion. So I will go ahead and get mine out of the way, and then you can finish up with yours. The NHL will launch its weekly Twitter game of the week. Actually, it launched last night with out-of-market live streaming of the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Boston Bruins game at 7:30. That was last night's game. The game will be available for free to logged in and logged out Twitter users on mobile phones, tablets, PCs, and connected devices in the United States via nhl.twitter.com. While the NHL celebrates its 100-year history, is continuously embracing innovative digital engagement tools to keep hockey fans connected to the game on and off the ice, including streaming live hockey games for fans on Twitter. Tonight's game, or last night's game, was the first of the weekly live streams of out-of-market NHL games Twitter will make available for free as part of its partnership with MLB AM. Each game will be geo-restricted for U.S. Twitter users only. For out-of-market NHL games. So if you were in Boston or Tampa Bay, you probably didn't get that game. Each broadcast will be simulcast of the home team's television broadcast. And then it says click link for full schedule. So, and of course, I included that link in the show notes for a full schedule of the games that will be free from here on out. So nice way to be able to offer a game if you have Twitter. So
that's very interesting.
Yep. So Twitter's starting to get into the live streaming game too. Facebook's already been in it. Of course, YouTube's in it. But the live streaming is becoming more and more popular going forward. So, and I've already come up with an idea. If the Bruins do make the playoffs, I'll probably live stream myself watching the game and all my reaction. every game.
Very good.
I think that'll be pretty interesting for someone to watch.
Yeah.
The way
pop some popcorn, so when they score, you live streaming kernels of popcorn up into the
right. But they got to make the playoffs, though.
Yeah. I've been telling you they will, Wayne.
I hope you're right. They're not doing too good tonight. They're already behind the Capitals. And of course, both teams have their starters in net, Rask and Holtby. But anyway, all right. Well, on to yours.
Mine, we could have put this in the week's, highlights of the week section of the podcast, But Wayne, once again, you're very gracious and let me speak about this man, because I think he's one of the most humble coaches who has been so successful that I've ever seen in any sport. But I'm thankful that the Rangers extended the contract of Alain Vigneault, and I wanted to make it my pick of the week this week.
Sure.
Coach Alain Vigneault signed a contract extension with the New York Rangers on Tuesday night, which was yesterday. Terms were not released, but ESPN.com reported it's worth at $12.25 million for 3 seasons. Vigneault had 1 year left on his contract, which was replaced by the extension. He'll reportedly make $4 million in the next 2 seasons and $4.25 million in 2019-2020. I gave it obviously a lot of thought, but with the young kids that we're bringing in, whatever you want to call it, the retooling, I believe we can win and we can compete in a very tough league, Vigneault said. It was a pretty easy decision as far as you're a coach and you want to have a chance. You've got a first-class organization, so it didn't take me long to think about this. I'm working my butt off to win the ultimate thing, Vigneault said. I've come close. I feel like I've been more driven than I am at this point. My teams have won. I just haven't won that one game. I'm working my butt off to do it. Vigneault is 597, 385, and 84 with 35 ties in 1,101 games with the Montreal Canadiens, Vancouver Canucks, and New York Rangers. He coached his 1,100th game on January 23rd, a 3-2 win against the Kings. I hit 1,100 games a couple of days ago, and I can honestly say I've learned every step of the way, stayed humble, taken my job very seriously, but I don't think I've taken myself seriously, Vigneault said. I know how privileged and fortunate I am to be in this position. And, we had a good coach before him, Tortorella, but I'm very thankful for Alain Vigneault and his leadership of the team during this time. And frankly, without him, I don't know that the Rangers would be anywhere close to where they are right now. So
Yeah, and I think he's just missing one big thing on his resume right now.
That's a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And,
he almost got it. He almost got it in 2011, but we all know what happened in 2011.
Yeah, we know what happened in that one. He didn't come close in 2014, but by golly. But, players like playing for him.
Yeah,
they really do. Players like playing for him. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
And behind the scenes, when the proverbial crap hits the fan, if you're a coach that players like playing for, they go to bat for you.
Yep.
So you don't see those guys going down in flames unless it really is a difficult situation.
Right.
You can kind of smell it coming.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Well.
Anyways.
Well, the coals have been smoldering in Boston for a couple of weeks now. So, but nothing has changed yet.
Yeah.
And they've, quite frankly, they're, I don't know. I guess by the end of February, we'll know. Because the Bruins only have 6 games in February. It's going to be a rough month for me. Only 6 games, and the first one's tonight. So after tonight, there's only 5 more games in the whole entire month.
That's something.
Yep. So anyway, by the time we get to February, the Bruins will have a bunch of games in hand on everybody else.
Yeah.
The way it looks. So anyway, all right. Well, that is all the stuff we have for the show tonight. I also want to remind everybody, of course, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can reach us by emailing us at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. You can leave a voicemail if you don't want to do all that typing. The phone number for that is 919-960-1718. You can tweet me. I'm at WayneHalley9. You can tweet Steve at SBall504man. And our Facebook page is at facebook.com/thehockeynuts. Our YouTube, I still haven't come up with a nice, pretty little URL for the YouTube. I got to do that. But the link to the YouTube channel is in the show notes for this site. As are, if you don't know how to spell my last name, you can get that, right from the show notes. And of course, we have a website at thehockeynuts.com, which has some more information as well. So we are always accepting of any feedback that we get, and we'll include it in the future episodes of the show. And in fact, I was thinking about it today, and speaking of the YouTube thing, I think we're the only hockey-related podcast that I know of. I could, there are others that could be wrong. I think there's one other that I've found that records using video while we stream live the recording of our podcast. There is another one called the Face Off Hockey Show that video streams the recording of their podcast, but at least on YouTube anyway, they don't have that many people watching them. So, but anyway, so I find that we're one of the more progressive hockey podcasts out there, where you can actually watch us record it live if you so choose. So, anyway, without further ado, unless you've got anything else, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this week.
Wrap it up. Good working with you, Wayne. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too. And again, we're planning on recording next Wednesday night, same time as we did this, 6:30 Eastern. And until then, we'll talk to everybody later.